about to win a bout. Chasing like a stray cat in the city, trying to kill a mouse. Lately I've been burning up the city, gasoline them dose. Haters doing all they can, intention was to put me out. Panicking like firemen, the water coming out the spout. Material like Wayne when he flooded cities. Carter drought, swerving in my lane, I get you out the way, another route. Entourage can step without, be moving around all by myself. I took the humble, canned it up like tuna, put it on the shelf. See the look in their eyes like an orphan crying out for help. Can't stand to see me winning, I'm a champ, I just forgot the belt. My story authentic.
Episode 12, Humbletalk Podcast. It's your boy Feast. Welcome back for another episode of this pure Humble Talk. Before we get started, quick thing, it's summertime. I'm glad all the kids are out, hanging out. And if your kids ain't out yet, y'all missing out. But be careful out here on these roads, man. Be careful out here. Graduations just happened. Everything like that. It's hot. At least where I am, it's in the 90s already. It's supposed to be toward 100 by the end of the week. So stay hydrated, man. Stay out the way if you can. Find some shade if at all possible. You know, learn signs of heat exhaustion and dehydration and things like that. Keep an eye on your kids because it does seem, whether we like it or not, to be getting hotter in the States. That there's a couple of different reasons for that, but as a guy who works for the fire department where I am, these are things that we definitely kind of look towards and things that we go over more times than not around this time of year. And because of that, the heat part of it, I just want to make sure that I put that out there, you know, so everybody stay safe this summer. I definitely will be kind of re-engage in that conversation before the summer's out, as we do get hotter and things do become more humid and more dangerous. But to go along with the first part that I spoke about the kids being out of school, as a guy that works for the fire department, I also get a whole lot of calls right about now about accidents and things like that, parties and stuff like that. As we've all been young once before, everybody that's an adult or everybody who's old enough to know, you know, summertime is when, you know, you let your hair out, you know, you kind of do your thing and kind of just have some fun. So, you know, even to the younger people that are out there, man, be careful, be cautious, you know, make good decisions. Believe it or not, there is a good way to make a bad decision, if that makes any sense. Some things you just, as a kid and as a younger person, you're just going to do, but there is a way of being smarter about that, where you might end up with a chastising at the end of the day and not in a hospital somewhere. So prayers to everybody that's going through those type of situations and everything like that. But let's get in humble talk. So just wanted to start it off with a quick saying that I had peeped the other day, and I definitely want to read it and kind of get into it a little bit because it definitely pertains to me personally as well as most of you. I know for sure a lot of people that I've talked to and I talk to on a regular, they kind of express some of these things, and I just thought it was kind of, you know, it was kind of fitting the mood that I kind of had been in lately, and some other people that I've talked to. So here it goes. It says, "The devil doesn't come dressed in a red cape and pointy horns. He comes as everything you've ever wished for." So that's a very loaded quote. It's a very loaded statement. I think it's very much so realistic to the world that we live in today. And because of that, like, there's so many things that you can do these days that we couldn't have done back when I was younger, or back when, if you're older than me, I'm 35, you know, back when some of these older people who may watch this when you were even younger, right? Like, everybody wants to be the it thing. Everybody wants to be famous. Everybody wants to be rich, of course. Everybody wants to be, you know, well off in some way, shape, or form. Everybody, you know, may want to just be popular, you know, and those things may not necessarily be monetary, you know, as far as just being popular or just kind of being, you know, being an it person, right? But there are so many pitfalls and there are so many negatives to the things that we may want, that we tend to overlook them for the vanity of what the exterior may look like to people. And it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. Just me speaking for myself, you know, some of the situations that I've gone through just to kind of be where I am today that I can speak about. I've always been in a situation where I I always wanted to kind of be in a better place, right? Like again, like I spoke prior about the neighborhood that I grew up in, or the area kind of that I grew up in, and kind of how that situation was. And I always thought to myself, I would always say to myself, like, hey, like I'm going to be in a better place. I'm going to be in a better place. I spoke that into existence, but I didn't understand what I was asking for when I was speaking it into existence. I wasn't aware that like I needed to be very direct as to what it was that I was asking for, and so I got what I wanted. I just didn't get it the way that I initially envisioned it when I asked it. And so I would always say this thing, and I would always want to be in a better place. I would not, I'd want to not have to be a certain way in order to survive in an environment, and this, that, and a third. And so through my actions, I got exactly that. I was doing so much, and I was being so negative, and I was pushing so much of the opposite side of who I really am that I ended up being shipped away from the exact environment that I wanted to stay in and I wanted to get better. And so what came from that was as I got here to Texas and I was away from everybody that I cared about, everybody that I loved, and I had to literally watch them from where I was suffer. And I had to be here and I had to figure out how to make that thing that I was speaking into existence work here. The environment that I moved to when I was in Texas, or when I got to Texas, I should say, is 1,000% easier to deal with, funner to be around and be with than back home. So now that I got here, that wish that I had or those things that I was speaking into existence they don't apply to where I am here. So I had to give up everything that I knew in order to be in a more peaceful place. In order for me personally to be more at peace with what I was doing and who I am as a person, and let go of some of those negative things that haunted me and that made me who I was. If I had to do it again, I don't know if I would have spoken those things into existence, if I would have asked for those things, because I was doing so much negative stuff that I feel like sometimes I was speaking directly to the devil. I wasn't speaking to anybody else, and I don't necessarily think that as you look at life, it's like either or. I think the gray area between good and bad is way bigger than the area in the space that is good and the space that is bad. I believe that gray area is huge. I believe that 99.9% of people fall in that gray area. And when you speak things into existence, because as you may hear, sometimes people may say, hey, words become things. The more you speak a thing into existence, the more energy you give it, the more likely that thing is to come true. May not be tomorrow, may not be next week. And because of that, because at that time, I feel like I was in that gray area, but I was closer to the bottom of that gray area, the red, if shall we say. And I believe that everything that I spoke to manifested itself, but it manifested itself towards the negative, not the positive. That's just me, right? Once I got to Texas, I was living out in the country, and I was culture shocked by cows just walking outside, and no street lights, and no sidewalks, and no stores, and all these things. And I was completely caught off guard by that. And then I moved to the city, and I realized that it's not horrible, right, per se, but it's different, And for so much like that I had wanted when I was back home to be in a better place, I was in a better place, but my family environment where I was living, the people that I was around weren't necessarily conducive to that, to what I was asking for. So I gave up a decent, and I would say decent based on the story that I gave before and like that. It was still decent. I gave up a decent family environment where I grew up with these people to move to Texas with strangers that I didn't know. They didn't know me. They had no dog in the fight whether I came here and did good, did bad. It didn't matter. And come to find out, like, not everybody, but a lot of those people were taking advantage a different way too. And so I literally left environments to somewhat walk into the same thing. I wasn't in the street like I was growing up back home, but what I traded for the street, I got in my own household. So there's so many things, man. There's so many different examples, and there's so many different situations that I'm in, that you're in, that you may sit down and look at and go, you know what? I kept asking for this thing. And what did this thing ultimately get me that I didn't ask for? Sometimes you have to kind of sit down and just think about it and go, you know what? I didn't ask for this, but it's what comes with wanting to be successful. It comes with wanting to be, this thing or that thing. A lot of people who get a lot of money, they live lonely existences. Why? Because once you become a person that is of some status or of some monetary value, well, then now everybody comes that you never talk to, and they need this, they need that, or you feel the need to like reach out to them and go, hey, I'm in a better place, let me help you. Well, the help turns into dependency, because once you start helping them, you don't know how to stop, and now you're back to square one. And once you're back to square one, they stop talking to you, and now it's back to what it's always been. You were over on your side, they were over on their side, and that's that. I had a situation recently that I can speak about on here, no problem. I had a friend of mine that I had came up with a little bit, and he kind of he had went through some hardships too, but he was a little older at the time, when I had met him, and he was kind of a wild guy, we'll call it that. No problem, no issues, never had any issues, everything was fine. Well, to this point in my life, I had worked myself into a decent position, right? Like, I'm not rich, I'm not poor, but I'm worked myself to a decent position, and because of that, I tend to want to help people. Even when I didn't have it, I would always get into arguments and fights about helping people because I never had anybody to help me. And so for me, there's always a guilt thing that I have in me, where if you call me and I can help you, and I know that me helping you is a difference between you being okay until tomorrow, or you going out here and robbing something or taking something or whatever, and something happening to you, then I'll help you. Even if it puts me in a spot, I'll help you. That's just who I am. I've always been that person. So I bumped into this friend a while back, not too long ago, actually. Bump into this friend, and he's, hey man, how's it going? It's all love. Everything is fine. It's me and a couple other guys and him, and we're just kind of catching up. We're sitting outside catching up, and everything for the moment seems on the up and up. And so, as we're talking, I kind of notice, the energy, his energy. We'll say that. I notice his energy. It's little. It's not bad. But it's different, right? Like he's. I've always known him to be so like rah rah rah. He was just so calm and just so different. And I was like, okay, people do change, and I hadn't seen him in a while. So me giving you the benefit of the doubt's fine. I don't mind. I mean, and again, like I may be in a different place now, but I never forget where I come from. I still fly back home, even though it's not the most best place to be, but I still go home because it's home. This place is, in the neighborhood that I grew up in when I moved to Texas. I still go there. I still intermingle. I'm still by myself all the time. I'm still ain't easy to find. I mean, I'm still not hard to find. I'm sorry. I'm still never hard to find. So, boom, we're there. We're hanging out. He's telling me that he kind of would like to get his life together. He's trying to get himself together. And for me, being the person that I am, I'm like, hey, you know what? I've got some connections. Let me go. Give me a couple days. Let me see if I can make some things work. I'll call you in a couple days, and we'll see what's up. Might not be what you want to do, but it's something that you can do to help you get on your feet and, get out of the street and kind of do something else with yourself. No problem. At the time that we were there talking, I noticed a couple little things. He kind of made a point to like stare at my watch a little bit and things like that. Things that I catch that I don't really speak on, but things that I ultimately notice. But me being the person I am, I'm not paying any mind because, truth being told, one, you're not gonna do nothing about it if you didn't really like it that much, and I just bypassed it, to be quite honest. A couple days later, I call him randomly. I'm at work. I'm just sitting in the truck. I'm like, you know what? Let me call him and just check on bro, because I genuinely want my people to win. Genuinely, like I say that on video a lot, but people who know me will tell you, I am the most humble person you'll ever meet. You may come across me, and I may be away, or you may perceive me to be away. Trust me, like I'm the most humble person you'll ever meet. I have zero problem with helping wherever I can. So a couple days later, I call him, and he's like, hey man, right on time. God was looking out for me when you called. I was just thinking about you. Yada yada yada, this and the third. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, all right, yeah. And so as we're talking, he's telling me how, he has, his kid needs some money, whatever the case is. And, I'm like, hey, like, I don't mind. You know what I'm saying? He had asked me for, X amount of dollars. And I said, cool, no problem. Here. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not thinking anything of it, right? For me, because my intentions are pure. My intention is that, hey, like, regardless of if we hang out on a regular or not, like, if I can help you, like I said, get to a better spot or make it to tomorrow, then that's what I'll do. It's well worth it. It's money well spent. I'm going to go burn that money on something out here that I don't need anyway. You know what I'm saying? So at the very least, my heart's in the right spot. I want to see you win and be in a better place. I also send him a list of jobs. I send him a list of situations and tell him exactly how to go about it. And if he has any problems, get with me, whatever the case may be. That's the last day I spoke to him. Hadn't spoke to him since, and this was maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, maybe. Hadn't spoke to him since. He's been out and about intermingling because we have a lot of the same friends. See him out and about on the internet, of course, because people are dumb. They can't get off the internet, And, it kind of made me feel away a little bit. Not going to lie. But part of me that felt the way didn't feel a way about the money. Because for me, it's never the money. For me, it's the principle. For me, if you're going to burn a bridge with somebody that is willing to look out for free, right? Just because he wants to, why would you burn that bridge over that little bit of money? Because for me, it's not about the money. I could give a what about the money. It's just money, right? Like I've worked myself to a position where I genuinely can feel that way and it'd be okay. It's not a big deal. But the fact that you did that tells me that, again, like, for me wanting, going back to the words that we spoke at the beginning, right? My heart being in the right place, right? The devil was dressed up in this situation, and I don't want to say I wasn't taken advantage of because I gave because I wanted to. So it's not even like, hey, well, something was taken from me. No, like, I saw an opportunity to help a friend or somebody that I thought that wanted to do right or was working himself into a better position, and I helped him, and I haven't talked to him since, and I have his phone number. I know where he's at. I can go pull up and have an attitude or whatever, but why? Why have an attitude? Why have an attitude about something that I chose to do? Why have an attitude about something that I would have done for any of my friends if they made the same phone call? I can't treat him any different because because he didn't do right by that opportunity. That's on him. That has nothing to do with me. Will I do it again? Not for him, but for the next person? Yeah. If I'm in a position to help, I will help. It is what it is. But, like you said, the devil's dressed up and everything that you want. For me, I want my people to win. But because of that, because I want my people to win, it entails me putting myself sometimes in harm's way or sometimes in financial situations to make sure to be the one to help, because I was never around people that would help. I was never around that, right? My goal is for all my friends to be with me and for us to be somewhere nice in suits or somewhere nice where we can look back on all these times that we had together, all these environments, all these things that we beat emotionally, physically, mentally, and be able to laugh about it and go, damn it, we made it. That's my goal. That is my ultimate goal. My goal is not to be a millionaire at the end of it. My goal is not to be, whatever most people want. That's not what my goal is. My goal is wanting to see everybody that matters to me in a place with me where I am. That's what I want. And sometimes I got to get burned in the process. But getting burned in the process doesn't do anything when it's genuine. It doesn't do anything when it's genuine. But again, I just, in the back of my mind, you have to be wary of that. You have to have that second and third, conversation with yourself to see, how that really goes for you. Sometimes you got to search your own soul, is what they say. I have zero doubts that I did the right thing. Zero doubts I did the right thing. But the devil's everywhere. The devil is in the details, is what they say. Had I been more cognizant of the energy, not really cognizant because I've seen it, but if I would have been more into the face-to-face interaction, I already picked up on the energy then. Had I acted on that, I would have helped him. But then what? Then what? I potentially, right? Not putting that on him, but I would have potentially ended up at his funeral if he went and did something crazy and he didn't make it home. So what in that moment? What is more important? Was me saying, he's acting a little weird compared to what I'm used to, so I'm gonna stand back and then have to go spend, X amount of dollars to help bury him or whatever the case may be, when I could just go here and hope you do right by it. And if you don't, cool. You know, it's sometimes it's good to let people buy themselves out of your life. Sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes it's like, you know what, hey, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it, right? And if that's the case, sometimes you just deal with it as it comes. No harm, no foul, right? Like I've more than quadrupled, easily quadrupled that money probably the next week. It wasn't even a problem, right? So that's just something that I want people that are watching this, man. If you're checking this out, I appreciate it. But man, keep your head on the swivel at all times. Everything that you ask for, understand it. You have to give something to get something. You have to. There is no. I get everything I want. You're going to get everything that you want, but there's going to be something that you're going to sacrifice. It may not be in the moment. It may not be in 2 years, 3 years from now. It may be, it may be something that you really, really care about. And that thing that you care about, once you get that thing, whatever your sacrifice is, has to be the sacrifice. You can't change the sacrifice once you get that thing. You can't go, you know what, I want to be a millionaire. I don't care what anybody says. I want to be a millionaire. If you get there to that place and you become a millionaire and God forbid, right, you lose your parents to be a millionaire, right? Say your parents have a life insurance policy. You want to be a millionaire. And in order for you to be a millionaire, your parents died. Now what? Right? If you're a mama's boy, if you're a daddy's boy, if you love your parents, if your parents are your world and you come from this environment, this family environment where y'all are one, is you having that $1 million worth having to bury your parents? It may not be worth it, right? But it's the devil, right? You ask for these things, but you have to be prepared to give up something to get whatever it is that you want. You have to be. You have to be. Not everything always ends that way. There are some people, right, that end up in situations where they seemingly like, hey, look, it is what it is. Like whatever it is, I'll give it up. That's fine. But that's not practical. It's not practical to be in a situation where you're asking for something without expecting to give something in return. The world doesn't work that way. It just don't. How many times do you turn on the TV and you see these guys and they go, they're these people and they won $100 million in the lotto, and everybody's like, man, $100 million, that'd be great to just go pay $20 for some lotto tickets and win $100 million. In theory, it sounds A1. But some of these stories, as you guys more know, become tragedies. They become broke in 7 years. They kill themselves. You know what I'm saying? All these things happen to them. These weird things start happening to them. Well, why do you think that is? Right? Like these people probably are spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to hit the lotto because their goal is, hey, I'm going to win this lotto. God, please help me win this lotto. Right? They're putting all their eggs in this basket. Okay, I'm going to give you what you want. You want to win this lotto? Here. Now, whatever comes along with you winning this lotto, these undealt with issues, these unforeseen issues, I'm going to wipe my hands of everything else, but I'm going to give you this one thing. Okay, you get this thing and then your entire world falls apart. Everything that falls apart, money can't stop. Every single thing that falls apart for these certain people that have had these issues, money wouldn't have stopped it. It would have happened regardless. So don't allow yourself to be sucked into this idea that you're watching these people and the vanity that they're putting out and this beauty that they're putting out and all these positive things and everything just seems to go right. Listen, like everybody always wants to show you the positive side. They never, ever, ever, ever want to show you the negative side. They don't want to show you the struggle. They don't want to show you the pain and the behind the scenes stuff. They don't want to show you, everything that goes into this final product. Everybody wants to wake up tomorrow and be a final project. I mean, if I don't find a product, I'm sorry. Everybody wants to be finished right now. Everybody wants to be everything to everybody at all times. That's not realistic. That's not real. That's not real. If you're in a situation where you're struggling to do something, or you're struggling to find motivation to do something, like, just keep doing it. Just be consistent. Be consistent. That's all you can do, is be consistent. You can't control if you're on here, right? If you happen to do YouTube and you can't get views, or you can't figure out whatever, just be consistent. If you really want to do it, just be consistent. I post videos on here sometimes, and it may get, 100 views, it may get 20 views. Don't move me one way or another, right? Because I'm consistent. Or at least I try to be consistent with my work schedule in real life. But sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, and when you lose, it's cool. And when you learn to lose the same way that you win, then everything's fine. There's always a balance. So if I'm never too up when I win, then I'm never going to be too down when I lose. I'm just going to just stay in the gray area. As long as I'm in the gray area, I'm able to take what's happening, internalize it, figure out what I need to do, and try to push myself to the next level. If I'm too high, I think I never can do anything wrong. And if I'm too low, I think that, like, the world's going to end and everything is just the worst thing ever, and I'm just a horrible person. No, I can't be there. I have to be in the gray area. I have to operate in that gray area. I have to. And once you learn that, you're going to be okay. But you have to learn that, hey, there are little things that I'm going to have to give up in order to be where I want to be. That just is what it is. Everybody that come with you can't go with you. Everybody who loves you don't support you. That's just how that goes. Everybody who wants you to win doesn't want you to win without them. Everybody who wants you to win doesn't want you to win on your terms. They want you to win on their terms, so they can say they had a part in it, or they can say they had an idea, or they can say, well, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be. Everybody has those people around them. Everybody has those people around them, and there's nothing wrong with it. But again, as long as you operate in a gray area and you stay who you are, no matter what, you're gonna be okay. The things that you have to give up in order to be successful, when you grind it out and you take your time and you put the work in, are gonna be minuscule compared to if I just give it to you tomorrow, and now you got to figure out what to do with it. Right? A lot of times we see a lot of these YouTubers, a lot of these famous guys, they get on YouTube and they start doing all this funny stuff, and the stuff might be booming, right? And these guys are booming, and they're just like, man, they're getting X amount of views, and that's all that people care about. And then what ends up happening is they get above where they should be, and they get on camera and they do something they're not supposed to, and then they're canceled, or they're controversial, or all these other things, right? Like, if I have to be a different person in order to be in a spot that I would like to be, then I don't need to be there. There's something about that spot that I don't need to be in if I have to be somebody different. Because people who are different are only different for so long before they break character. If I'm acting, I'm only going to be able to act for so long before I break character. When I break character, everything that I built is going to be at risk of crumbling, because it wasn't genuine from the beginning. So everything that you do, you should be genuine. And if I'm genuine in everything I do, that devil that I was speaking about, you ain't got to worry about him. He going to poke, he going to pry, he going to prod, he going to do what he can to try to get underneath your skin. He's going to do what he can to try to get you off your path, because at the end of the day, misery loves company. Everybody knows that adage. Misery loves company. That never changes. But at the end of it, right, if you can jump those hurdles, if you can sidestep those hurdles, you can get around that, right, under control in that gray area where you are yourself, you are your genuine self, you can be under control. That phrase that we talked about at the beginning, it means nothing. It means nothing. The lack of realizing that you have to give something to get something is the worst mistake that you may ever make. Every day I wake up, I understand that if I want something and if I go ask for something, and I usually don't ask for anything, but if I usually do ask for something, I have to understand, like, hey, what's going to come with that? What's going to come with that? And for me, I've gotten to a place where, as long as it doesn't affect the select few people, for me, I'm cool with whatever else I got to lose along the way. I've that's just how my life is set up, right? Like, I don't have a Rolodex full of family members and people that care about me. I just don't. It is what it is. So me losing a person that I might talk to once a year don't matter. Me losing, me losing somebody who like didn't actually affect my life in any type of way don't matter. I could care less, right? It just is what it is. So just remember that. Just remember that as you're going forward and you're making decisions and you're putting yourself in situations and you're pushing for this thing so hard and you want it tomorrow. Just know you may get it tomorrow. And I hope you do get it tomorrow. Don't get it twisted. I want everybody to win. I do want you to get that thing that you want tomorrow. I just want you to also be aware that the moment that thing that you want tomorrow shows up tomorrow, you better take a second, root yourself in that moment, start looking around because something around you is going to change for the worse. It's going to change for the worse. Just brace yourself. Not saying you can't get through it. Not saying you can't get through it. But something is going to go awry somewhere. Cause and effect. So, real quick before we get out of here, Denver Nuggets, congratulations, NBA champions. Miami Heat, congratulations, Eastern Conference champions. Definitely caught some of the games. I actually caught most of them. One thing I can say about the Miami Heat, hey, those guys balled out. The whole playoffs, this whole playoff Jimmy thing that they've been talking about. I don't know what happened in his last series, but this playoff Jimmy thing, if you've watched enough basketball, is real. Eric Spoelstra seems to be a damn good coach as a guy that came from the video room. Pat Riley is always, definitely, is legendary. Pat Riley's Pat Riley. If you know, you know. But that Denver team, man, something else about those guys. Full team, played like a team the whole way. Joker seems to be unstoppable at this moment. Seems to be, not to kind of push the narrative, but he seems to be the best player in basketball, if you ask me. I don't even watch Denver, right? Over in Texas, we don't get a lot of Denver basketball games, but looks to be the best basketball player in the world to me. That's just me. Now, Victor Wembanyama's coming in the draft this year to the Spurs, more likely, right? 45 minutes away. Go Spurs, go. But the Joker seems to be the guy. He seems to be the guy. To be quite honest, Jamal Murray getting hurt a couple years ago, I think opposite of that happening, the way they looked right now, they might have won a championship a couple years ago if Murray never got hurt. So, in an NBA where you need multiple stars, Jamal Murray goes down with a leg injury, he's out. Jokic is trying to carry the team by himself. Of course he can't because it's a multiple star type of league. And man, they just got it done this year. It looked close throughout certain points of the series, but you never felt like Miami actually was going to pull this thing out. It always felt like it was just a matter of time before Denver just wore on those guys. Having shooters is cool when they're making shots, but when they're not making shots, it's hard. The Heat aren't the biggest team in the world either. Denver's definitely a bigger guy. And with Jokic not being a real rim protector, you would think that the Heat would have some sort of advantage. But, just the stats that Jokic was putting up, man, it's hard to keep up with that guy. Then once his other guys are involved, it's just hard to do. It was an uphill battle for the Heat. Played their heart out, though. Definitely looking to see what's going on. That's probably going to be the first game of next season or the Christmas game of next season. You can already book that. You already know that that's coming. So, congrats to everybody that's involved in that, man. One more thing before I get out of here. As it's getting hot, football season's rolling around. I'm very excited. Bryce. You excited for football season?
Yeah.
Put your face in here and say, I'm excited for football season. Hurry up. Quick.
I'm excited for football season.
Let's go. Hey, you got something on your eyebrow, bro. What is that? It's a mothball, bro. What are you doing? It's not a mothball. I'm playing. Listen, with it being football season, definitely excited for the pads to get put back on. Definitely excited for the fun, for the teaching part of it. This is my favorite part of the year. This is the thing that I do that I love the most. Like, I would definitely like coach football year round. If I could, and I'm actually, hopefully, if everything works itself out, I may be having some things in the works where I can do some traveling camps, stuff like that. I'm praying everything works out, but more details later. But hey, one thing for sure, two things for certain. Hey, for everybody out there who's playing football, for everybody out there that's coaching football, man, please, 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 please teach these kids the right way. Please, I know that winning games is more important to some people, and big hits and putting guys on highlight reels and all these things, man, are the thing. But please be aware, man. Like, the last thing you want is for your kid to be 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, believing that proper technique does not work, and believing that the way that he wants to go be like these guys on TV is going to be effective going forward. The new rules that are implemented in the NFL are for a reason. The new studies, the concussion stuff, and all that. And take it from me, as a guy who's only really played football, I don't care about any other sport really. As a guy who's played football at a high level, head injuries are not a game. Head injuries are not a game. Okay, like I promise you, they're not nothing to play with. And I didn't play football from 5, 6 years old. I didn't play football my first year until I was 10 years old. But the way I played football, um, definitely attributed to me being, you know, having these injuries and things like that. Now, would I go back and change it? No, because football saved my life. Football saved my life. I'll never tell anybody different. I'd be in a box right now if it wasn't for football. That's facts. But now that we know this information, now that we're aware of these new things that have come out over the years, it is your duty as a coach or as a parent to ensure that your child is being taught football the safe way and the proper way. Because what they learn now is going to carry along with them throughout the rest of football, the rest of their life, if they go to the pros, college, high school ball, whatever they do. It may not always be fun. The fun comes later. But right now, at the beginning where these guys are moldable and you're able to take them and push them to be what you want them to be and show them their potential, just please, please, please show them their potential the right way. Please, I want to see these guys in high school, balling out. I don't want to see them doing something else because they blew a knee out, not doing something the right way, or they had too many concussions and they can't play football and their career is over, or things like that. There's certain things. There's enough of football that we can't control already. The last thing I want to see, or last thing I hate hearing about, is guys teaching guys the wrong way, or just coaching for the win, or just coaching to make these parents happy. Look, listen, parents, if you want your kid to be an all-star, hey, help them out at home. Help your kid out at home. Get with your coach. Figure out there's some things you can do at home to help them. I guarantee you your coach will love for you to help them. A 2-hour window, a couple days a week is not enough to get your kid who's never played before to Odell Beckham. It's a long way from sitting on the couch to Aaron Donald. It's a long way. That's not going to happen in 6 months. It's not going to happen in a year. It takes time. It takes time and it takes patience. So until next week, this is Humbletalk Podcast. This is your boy Fee signing out. Like I said before, hey, stay hydrated. Check those signs for dehydration, man. Heat exhaustion. Hey, be safe out here. If you're driving a car, you're going to parties, hey, make a bad decision a smart way. Make a bad decision a smart way. I'll catch you next week, and we out.
In the water coming out the spout material like Wayne when he flooded cities. Carter drought.